Well, here goes. Um, Basically, my life started when my mum and dad got a divorce. Um, when obviously you're an 11-year-old child coming from a nice house, having achieved so many things up until 11, and watching your dad achieve so many things, and just being so competitive in everything that I've done. Going from that to sleeping on your nan's settee, who passed away 2 months before. Um, but when you think about it, it's not a really good thing, is it? It's not a nice experience. My dad, I chose to live with my dad, and my dad gave everything to my mum. He gave the house, he gave all the furniture. All he took was the fridge and a frying pan, I think. Um, and he had to start again with me. And I was no little angel. I was a little bastard. I'm not gonna lie. I was naughty. I was confused. I was wild. I wasn't doing well in school. It's not that I was having learning difficulties, because I was top set for everything. It was fighting because of my colour of the skin. Basically, it was just racial abuse. Look, I will talk about that. Um, but yeah, going through, if I was to put myself in my dad's shoes and lose everything that he lost at the age of 41, it was really, really hard for him. um, and then we moved to a place after, obviously, the divorce was done, and my dad went to the council and got a council house in Aspley. Worst fucking place in the world. It's what a fucking shithole. What a they my worst times of my life was created from that estate, Aspley, Shepton Crescent, 98 Shepton Crescent. What a fucking shithole. And I shouldn't swear, but it was an absolute dive. Not the house, just the area, the people. Anyway, so I moved in with my dad, and for my dad to, well, while all this was going on with the divorce and stuff, my mum met an Irish fella. He was from Northern Ireland. She met him in Blackpool about 2 months after my mum and dad had divorced. In fact, not even that. Um, and basically, she packed all the bags, sold all the furniture, sold everything in the house that my dad helped purchase. It was a joint decision, and fucked off to Northern Ireland. That was it. I remember saying bye to her on Wigman Road. I was supposed to go to a golf competition with my mate, and I was his caddy. And my mum had just left my grandma's, and she drove down Cane Cross, turned left onto Wigman, parked outside Craig's house. She had a plant and a few other bits in the back of the car, and that was it. I waved bye-bye to my mum. So I've gone from having both parents supporting me, because they did support me. They supported me in everything that I'd done. From having nowhere to live, sleeping on a settee, moving into Aspley, then not having a mum. All within the space of 4 months. That's how fast it happened. And I walked into Craig's house and I cried. I was an 11-year-old lad. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know. I just. And then because of the competition, I wasn't allowed. It wasn't. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to go. It wasn't fair on Craig because it was a high-profile competition. Because he was good at golf, and I had to walk home. And the saddest thing about walking home is, if you know the area, if you know Bilborough, you have to walk through Bilborough to get to Aspley. So I had to walk past my old ass, and it was it. Yeah, it was fucking. It's heartbreaking. Even now, it's just heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. So when I moved into Aspley, obviously I was living with my dad. But my dad needed his space. So he shipped me off to Northern Ireland, where my mum moved to. So I got to see my mum again after about 2 months, I think. And I ended up going to school there. And to be honest, it was a really good experience. I met some really, really nice people, and I had a great laugh. I was there for the 12th of July parade. I followed the band Ballykeel, Don't Bury Me in Ireland's Finian Valley, Take Me Home to Ulster Let Me Rest, and on my gravestone carve a simple message, Here lies a soldier of the UVF. Now, obviously, I'm the Church of England, and it does make me a Protestant, but listen, there's nothing wrong with the Catholics. The people at the end of the day who have their beliefs, just like us. So, yeah, it was awesome, and then my mum got sick and tired of me, because she didn't expect me to just turn up. So she put me on the plane back to my dad. So when I got back, I went back to. I got permanently excluded from Glaisdale just when I was like 11 in year 7, and then I got put into William Crane, and then obviously I got shipped out to Northern Ireland. I went to Dunclug. I lived in a place called Ballymena, and I went to Dunclug High School. And while I was out there, just to let you know, I was the best at football. I was the best at running. I was the best at everything. I've got the certificates, which I'll ask my dad if he's still got. I think he has, and I'll upload them at a later date. But I smashed it. I even made the paper. So I absolutely smashed it. And when I came back, I went to William Crane. Now, because my mum and dad had split up, my older brother Jason, when my mum left, had nowhere to go. He had nowhere to live. And my dad me and Jason have got the same mums but different dads. And he moved in with my dad, even though he didn't have a good relationship with my dad. In fact, he had a fucking shit relationship with my dad because of his behaviour. Was just what he'd done was awful, absolutely awful. And I'll get to that as well. I'm not going to hold anything back. All right, what's the point? But he moved in with my dad, and yeah, it wasn't going well. But then Jason arranged for my dad's house to be burgled. We was told this by somebody. And why would they just come up with something like that? He fucking arranged for somebody to burgle my ass. Right? Callum not. Knowlton not. The fucking Not family. Right? He fucking arranged for them to do it. And I know why. And I know, and do you know what? He left the evidence because my dad had this stereo. And the speakers was sick, and Jason's like, oh, I love them speakers. So when the house was burgled, they left the speakers. They didn't take the speakers. They just took the unit. Like, what the fuck? And so, like, obviously the house got burgled. So my dad confronted him, and because he confronted him, obviously it all kicked off. Now, look, people who know my dad from back in the day, right, he's ex-army. He went in the army when he was 15. He spent 5 years in there. He was in the toughest regiment, the Mercian, the Sherwood Foresters. Right? He got not abused, but he got taught to be a man at the age of 15. And he'd just come out of foster care. Well, basically, he was in a care home, and then he went into the army. So his life wasn't fantastic either. He had a shit upbringing through no fault of his own. And yeah, my dad was a fucking psycho. And he might not admit it, but people feared him. He was a fearful man. He was, if you watch number 6 in that video, rugby video, that's my dad, Reg. And in all honesty, I think for a long time, even while I was with my mum, I don't think he knew who he actually was. He knew what he could do, and he knew what he could achieve because he was fucking the best at everything. When he created that rugby team, I'll just go off the story, but when he created that rugby team, right, we started off lending the PE kit from Glaisdale. We used their kit, right? And we had probably, him, Dave Lawson and Cliff broke away from Nottingham Crusaders to create this team, Bulwell Panthers. And when we created it, we had absolutely nothing. Nothing in the slightest. We didn't have a pot to piss in. And as the games started coming through and started progressing, people started realising that, this is going somewhere. We're going somewhere. And then eventually, we got a good enough team together to conquer the Northern Leagues. And when I say conquer the Northern Leagues, I don't just mean conquer, I mean demolish. We won absolutely everything. No bullshit. I wish the technology was back in the day like today, because I don't think I'll be where I am now because of what my dad achieved through what he done, because he would have got noticed. He really, really would have got noticed. And we ended up having our own stadium at Harvey. It wasn't our own stadium, but we had a stadium where we had an audience. We had sponsors off a company called Bass Bury. And we smashed it. We went up to, we used to go up to Halifax, Castleford, Pontefract, Leeds, Wakefield, Doncaster. The Northern Leagues, they're tough fucking leagues. They really are tough leagues. I don't think people realise how tough semi-professional rugby is, especially back in the day, because it's more of a kids game now, right? But back in the day, you had fucking men playing it. And you see the size of Tyrone, you see the size of my dad, you see the size of fucking Carl and Glenn. Those big guys. You couldn't run against them. I'd just snap me in two. Fuck that. Anyway, going back to my dad, he confronted the Knott family. And because he confronted them, he ended up getting into a little bit of a scrap with Callum and Knowlton. Well, they started scrapping with my dad, so my dad had no choice. And then the next minute, 3 fucking cars pull up with baseball bats, and Charlie Knott gets out with a baseball bat threatening my dad, and he smashed my ass up. Right? He didn't come on his own. He didn't come without a bat. He come with 3 cars full of blokes with a baseball bat, with me in the ass. What would you do? Would you fight? You're not going to fight if you've got your son in the ass, are you? You're not going to do nothing to put your child in danger. That's what a proper dad does. That's what my dad done. He secured my safety, and all this is because of Jason, right? And they did burgle my fucking ass. So because they smashed my ass up, and because they done what they done, we had to, we didn't get. Let's just get one thing straight. We didn't get run out of Aspley, right? We chose to lose that. We chose to leave, right? My dad had to grow up because he had a son to look after. He had me to look after. He had his life to look after, And so at the age, I spent 2 years in Aspley. I was 12 to 14 in Aspley. We actually moved into Bulwell on my 14th birthday because I got given three £5 coins from back, big fucking things, big £5 coins. I got given three £5 coins, and it was my 14th birthday. And when I moved into Bulwell, my whole life changed. My whole life changed. But that's a different story. I'll go to that later. When I lived in Aspley, there was a band member called John Chambers, and he was from a band called Paper Lace, and he sexually groomed me. He groomed me, him and Andrew Polker. He purposefully befriended me. He purposefully groomed me for his sexual gratifications. And that's the secret I had to keep for 26 years. Now, if you listen to the story that I've just said, could you imagine me telling my dad that? I couldn't tell my dad that. I couldn't tell nobody. I couldn't tell my dad what John was doing to me and Andy. I just couldn't do it. I didn't think about. I was scared for my dad. I was scared for my dad, and that is the God's honest truth. I know what my dad would have done if I told him what was happening, and it wasn't a once or twice or 3 times. This was an everlasting thing. It carried on for 2 years while I was in Aspley. It carried on for 2 years while I was in Aspley. And that's the secret. That's the secret I had to keep for 26 years. Obviously, when I moved house, I didn't really have much to do with him after that. I lived in a different area. I didn't, I got away from it, which was the really good thing. That's why I said Aspley was the shittest time of my life, and it was. But when I moved to Bulwell, and I went to the school called Riverleen, it used to be called Oldham and Derbyshire in Bulwell, in Nottingham, but it was called Oldham and Derbyshire. Never got that point, but what a school that was. What a school. I met some everlasting friends there. Everlasting friends. And I'm still friends to them to this day. And it was brutal. I loved it. My whole life changed. My whole life changed. I've gone from what had just happened in Aspley to going to a new school. So this is my 3rd school. And I wouldn't say I was popular, but I was definitely in the top 2. 100%. Especially after, 100%. I was, I was a cool guy. I was cool. And it was brilliant. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But, again, because of my behaviour, and it wasn't like stealing or... It was fighting. It was fighting. It was just fighting and not going to class and stuff. I got excluded. I got permanently excluded from there as well. Well, I didn't get permanently excluded. They put me in college. But the friends that I met there, Jordan, Laura, Ashley and Richard, the twins who lived on the next street, my best mate Cole, Sash. He didn't go to that school, but he lived in Bulwell, Sash, and then there was Bug Eye, Lee, Cole's brother, Chapman. They weren't in my year, but they still went to the same school. They didn't actually go to school with them, actually. They actually left. I've met some phenomenal people in that school. Chris New, Darren Stocks, Richard, well, his nickname's Dick, but Richard, fucking hell, Matthew Wade, his sister Gemma, Gareth Wood, Gareth Massam, Claire Massam, fucking hell, list is endless. Danny Atkin, Danny Moore, Ruben Patterson, James Savage, Dwayne Antner. Yeah, those are all good friends, man. They still are. Everyone moves on in life. Everyone, it's just part of life, isn't it? Lola and Esther. Can't not mention them. Fuck a duck. They used to have their own language. They really did used to have their own language. And you'd be like, what? Anyway, yeah. And then that was basically the first, from the age of 12 to 14, it was fucking shit. It was absolutely shit. And I had to grow up fast. And this is why I got excluded from school, because it's not as if I was dumb. It's because I knew too much for my age. I'd seen too much for my age. I experienced too much for my age. And the teachers didn't understand that. The teachers, if the problem is, not the problem is, but with today's age, the teachers are on the same level as the students. They know the students because they're only a couple of years older than them. Whereas when I was in school, there was fucking old men. There was old women, old men. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't realise, they didn't understand the street life, basically, like teachers do today. It's the streets. They don't understand the streets. And if you're in that environment, then if you live in that environment, then you take that environment with you. And you can't help it because it's just the way of life. It's just what you've been taught. It's the way I've been born and bred on two massive cancers. I'm not going to say Aspler, but I am. I was born in I lived in Bilborough. I lived in Aspler. I lived in Bulwell, right? And Bilborough and Aspler were connected to Broxton, so technically I was brought up in Broxton as well. And there was fucking rough council estates. They were really fucking rough. You had to be able to stick up for yourself in those council estates with the people. You had to be able to look after yourself. And I did. I got a reputation. I got a reputation, not for being the odd man or anything. It's just, don't fuck with Packy Adam. That was my nickname, Packy Adam. You know what? You laugh at them. Do you know people who call me a Packy and stuff like that? I'm not even a Packy. I'm fucking Indian. My granddad was from Mauritian, and my grandma on my dad's side was from Canada. And then my granddad on my dad's side was from Derby. So where the fuck have you got a Packy from? So I just laugh at them. And because I laughed at them, they accepted me. Their choice. Anyway, that's my nickname, Packy Adam. Packy Adam from Bulwell. Oh, I forgot to mention Bobby Lunt and all them from Bulwell. But then, obviously, when I moved to Bulwell, that's when I started smoking weed. Well, I started smoking weed before then. I had a couple of drugs, but when I was 14. Obviously, live on the streets, and yeah, that's when me and Cole, my best mate, started smoking weed. Well, yeah, and I fucking loved it. It was great. I didn't rob anybody. I didn't steal anything other than my dad's car, but I didn't do anything stupid other than just lie on Morrison's car park laughing my fucking hat off. And it was fucking fantastic. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I don't smoke weed now, but when I did, it was good. So, yeah, I started smoking weed, and that's when you start to become known, or like the drug dealers as such. And I used to get I'm not going to mention his name, but I used to get my weed off one person at the time. I'll tell you his number. And this number is 25 years old, and I still know it off by heart. 07939 657 458. If anybody can remember that number, you know who I'm talking about, so I ain't going to say his name. Anyway, as life gets older, the age of like 14, 15, obviously I got put into college at the age of 15 because obviously my behaviour was year 10, and I went to study music, and I studied foundation music, and college I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Smashed that as well. Smashed it because it was an adult environment. I was too advanced for my age for mainstream school. Not because, and when I say advanced, I don't mean as in too clever. I was, you know, I'm a pretty bright lad, I think. I'm not stupid. But when I say advanced, like I said earlier, I knew too much for my age. I just knew too much for my age, and that was the problems that got me into trouble. And yeah, I got put into college. It was great. But at the age of 15, 16, ecstasy started coming into play, didn't it? Fucking hell, man. Wow. I remember my first ever pill. Fuck a doc. What an experience. And yeah, you know, mate, I got addicted to them. I was addicted to them at the age of 16. I was popping 2-3 pills a night, and that might not sound many to people, but for a skinny little African boy like me, I was fucked. I was awake for 3-4 nights on a trot, man. I was fucked. I was losing weight. I dropped out of college. I'd fucked my life up. I stole my dad's car. Wasn't bloody good. It wasn't good. No, we used to walk for miles and miles and miles. We used to walk to like Kimberley and fucking oh man, we walked to Ilkeston, Derby. Fucking had to turn around, man. Strangest thing about it, you remember most things about you remember what happens. Even though you're off your head, you remember what happens. It's mad. It's fucking mad. Crazy shit. And obviously my dad started realising that I wasn't being normal. And then I'll give you a story. England played Brazil in the World Cup at 8 o'clock in the morning, and my uncle had a pub in Ball Hall. And because he opened his doors early, I was pissed by 7 o'clock. I double dropped 2 E's by 8 o'clock. I was swimming down the middle of the fucking road on outside Morrison's at 10:30. My dad's girlfriend's daughter, Julie, Pearl, was going on a date to Hucknall with this new fella, and she seen me in Boole, and she seen me swimming on the road. So she collared me and took me back to my dad's house. And even though I was fucked out of my face, I can remember it. I can remember walking through the door. I can remember lying on stage. I drank a bottle of vodka. Fucking jaw swinging from side to side, grinding my teeth. I've drank a bottle of vodka. And then my best mate Cole, who I talked about, he's one of the nicest lads. Him and Craig and Sash and Michael, those 3 lads are the most genuine friends that I've ever had in my life. Ever. And no matter what I say now, I hope it doesn't offend. I hope it doesn't change our relationship, because I haven't got a relationship with you anymore. All right, that ended a long time ago. Anyway, Cole come and saved me. He knocked on the door and said, Adam, you can't, I'm not keeping you, I'm not saving you. He fucking dragged me out of the house and dragged me up the road. Fucking got me away. Thanks for that, mate, by the way. I appreciate that. And that was the life for a few months. Popping pills, staying awake, smoking copious amounts of ganj, and not going to college. So on my 16th birthday, my pocket money stopped. I used to get quite a bit of pocket money. I used to get £3 a day for my dinner. Right, then I used to work on the market. So my dad would give me £3. I'll start on the market at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll get £4 in the morning, so that's £7. Right, I'll go to the shop. I'll buy 10 fags at a nourishment at the card shop, which Julie used to serve me, even though she knew I was in school. She didn't give a fuck. Anyways, I used to get my 10 Lambert and Butler, and I used to go sell them in school. And when I finished, I had 50p a fag, 50p for two, and Parker pens as well. I used to sell Parker pens. I was the man who can get things. I was that guy. So in my year at school, anyway. So when I used to finish school, I used to leave school for about 10, 11 quid. And then I used to go back to the market and do my afternoon shift. So I used to have about 15 quid. And it was only for about 5 or 6 months. But 15 quid a day for a 14, 15-year-old lad, it's not that fucking bad. And then plus my dad used to give me £15 at the end of the week. And I never used really had to do any chores other than wash the pots. That was it really. You know, keep clean. But my dad used to work away a lot as well with his job. When he used to do the driving, so I used to leave me quite a lot. I used to basically, yeah. So I was pretty much housewifed at the age of 14, basically. At the age of 12 when my mum and dad split up. But it got serious when I turned 14 when we lived in Bull, because that's when my dad got his serious jobs and he was travelling around Europe or whatever. And then yeah, I was going back to when I was 16. And then when I got to 16, it all stopped. You're not having any more pocket money. If you don't get a job and there's £50 not at the end of the week for your board, you're out on the street, or you're not having, or you get your food in your bed. That's it. And that was my dad's line. That's what he said. That is what he said. He said to me, "I want £50 a week in board. I want you to go and get a job, and I want £50 a week in board." That was it. So I was in a bit of a fucking dilemma. I was just like, I'm 16, and where am I going to get a fucking job from at 16? I didn't want to go back to college, fed up with education, fucking bullshit. So I went and got a job at 16, working for an agency, Thorn Baker. And yeah, I was giving my dad £50 a week or whatever. And then I ended up working at the postal place. This is, fucking hell, this is 28 years ago. But yeah, I ended up working at this postal place, and they sent me there at night time, and I got there and they didn't need me. So I got the woman on the phone, and I said, apparently that they don't need me. And she goes, yeah, that's right, I should have told you this morning. Well, why didn't you tell me this morning then? She goes, I couldn't get hold of you. I said, well, you've just got hold of me now. I ended up having a massive fucking argument with her, and I never ended up going back. She never gave me any more work because I laid into her because it was 10 o'clock at night. I was in Lady Bay. I was in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, I didn't know how to fuck out. I didn't know how I was going to get home because there wasn't all night buses back then either. I think the last bus to Bull was at 11 o'clock, and it was like 10:15. But she said she'll pay for a taxi for me, but into Nottingham Town Centre. But I was just like, so when I got into the taxi, I said, no, mate, you're taking me back to Bull. If you're putting the receipt in, right, for them to cash out tomorrow, mate, you can make your journey a bit better and take me to Bull. He was like, yeah, all right. I've just been told to pick you up, mate. So, all right, so they took me back to Bull. And then that was about the age of 16, 17. And then when I turned 17... when I turned 17, I started working for a company called Accident Support and Advisory Service. It was door-to-door knocking, asking people if they had any accidents in the last 3 years. Hello there, sorry to bother you. Don't worry, don't put your boxing gloves on. I'm not here to tell you anything. If you like to leave it, yeah, something like that. I can't remember my pitch now. Fucking hell. Have you had any accidents in the last 3 years? Oh, it was so funny. It was good. I loved it.
And I met some good people. I worked with some really, really, really funny people. Matt, Antonio, Adam Pearson, Timothy Yates, Lee Sharp, fucking hell, Richard Dunn, James Dunn. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I fucking travelled around everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Every fucking shithole in England. And I mean, fucking hell, the Manor Estate in Sheffield. Then you've got Highfields down in Leicester. And then you've got fucking, oh mate, Doncaster, Askern. Oh dear, I'll get to that bit later. Oh mate, you think fucking Bull's bad. And you think, listen, you can change the tarmac, but you can't change the people that walk on it. I mean, it's such a true fucking saying. But anyway, yeah. And Dean Buckland as well. And that's where I met my first love through accident support. And because I was a bit of a wild child and I didn't give a fuck about the world and I smoked weed and I was taking pills and whatever, I took Dean's girlfriend off him. Now at the age of 17, it didn't mean anything to me. But when you get older and you realise what you've done, it was a bit wrong, really. But she was just as bad to blame than what I am because she didn't fucking say no and she ended up back at my house that night and he went to the party with her and she came home with me. Not my fucking fault, mate, is it? Well, it is, but you know. And her name was Naomi, and she was Scottish. She was actually I won't say sensible, but she was a good girl. She was alright. She was like me. She'd been through quite a bit in her life, and she'd left the island of Shetland and lived in Mansfield. Fucking long fucking way that is. And she had a lovely soft Scottish accent. I'll never forget her accent. It wasn't that fucking Alex Ferguson or that really strong Glaswegian accent. It wasn't one of them. It was really, really soft and subtle. But she was one of those girls that fuck with your head. Not purposefully. I just let it happen. I'd never been in love before. I was in love for fucking 6 months. I loved her to the moon, stars, and beyond. It was great. It was fucking. I was in love. But then things started to happen because of my job, and we just basically grew apart after 6 months. And I was still working with Dean. I used to sit next to him and tell her I loved her next to him. Never mind. Not good. But yeah. So working there at accident support, meeting Naomi, taking the pills, smoking weed, driving around in cars when I wasn't legal, buying them out the back of a paper for 50, 60 quid. Just doing stupid shit. Now, it might not seem stupid to some people, but you just have to, close your eyes and imagine about, taking pills, driving cars, getting jobs and stuff like that. You have to think, well, I've done that, and yeah, I've done that. It was, yeah, it was okay. But remember, I still had the secret. Remember, I was still got abused by those two. But it never affected me then. Not that I knew of. It never affected me. Then one day, I was sat at home, and my dad worked at Frank Key at the time. And he came home early from work, and he threw the fucking paper in my face. And John Chambers had been convicted and charged for possessing a underage porn video. And because obviously my dad knew him, he knew that I was going out roadieing with him. He understood but he didn't realise. I think he might have had his ideas, but he never realised. And he was fucking fuming.
This paper went out to every single person within Bilborough, Aspley, Broxton. Every single fucking person got that paper that day, and his face was on the front page. And it did kind of have an effect on my life, because I used to go around saying, oh, I work for that band, Paper Lace, and oh, I know John Chambers, he's the bass guitarist. Oh, he had a #1 hit, fucking Billy Don't Be a Hero, and he toured with the original Billy Fury or whatever, and then this happened. And I remember walking into Cole's mum and dad's house, and Dave looking at me, like, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know about the videos, I didn't know about the video, and fucking hell, no, I wasn't on the video, but it was sickening to know that someone who you know, between the ages of 12 and 14, I was a lost child. All right, I didn't know what was happening in my life, and he kind of used that to his advantage, and not just with me, with other guys younger than me, other guys that who was suffering a traumatic childhood. So he took advantage, and I let it happen because I didn't have anywhere else to turn, and that's my conclusion of it. Because I'm not gay, I'm not bisexual, I'm not pansexual. I'm fucking straight as an arrow. Yeah, and I love women. I love my girlfriend, Karina. She's the best fucking thing that's ever happened to me in my life, ever. But I'll go on to her later. But yeah, they sexually abused me, and they took advantage. And when I was lost between the ages of 12 and 14, I didn't know where to turn. I just didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to turn. I had nothing. I had no one other than my dad. But my dad had his own problems, as well as me. So at the age of 16, when that 16, 17ish, when that paper came through, obviously everything changed. Not everything changed, but I rang the police up to speak to the officer who actually arrested him and raided his ass. And when I tried to tell him, he laughed at me. And this is all recorded. This has all been recorded. Right? Because every phone call is logged and it stays on their system. Right? So, and they didn't believe me. He just laughed at me and says, oh, yeah, okay, I'll be in contact. That was it. That was on the back of a bus. I was drunk. And that was on the back of a bus. So it had already started to affect me. And I was on the back of a bus. I was drunk with Naomi in Mansfield. And I was screaming down the phone. And then, after me and Naomi split up, and I was working for the accident support company, my dad threw me out. Well, he didn't throw me out, but he didn't give me the option, really. Basically, look, I was just a little fucker. I was taking drugs, I was fucking popping pills, I was drinking. I wasn't coming home till 9, 10, 11, 12, but I wasn't coming home some nights, and he just had enough. And I was stealing money from him, and I was, I wasn't being very nice to him. I shouldn't have done it, and I apologise to you, Dad, because I know you're going to see this video, and look, Dad, I'm sorry for my behaviour, okay? I'm just sorry. I can't justify it, and I'm not going to try and justify it. There's nothing to justify for what I've done. I wasn't a bad lad. I wasn't that bad. I was just fucking stupid, like most people. But yeah, I left home at 17, and I moved to Derby for a little bit to stay with my brother, because things got a little bit heated in Bull, where I was from. So I moved to Derby, and stayed with my brother for a bit, and that was a really good experience. I only stayed in Derby. I was only a bus away. You know what I mean? It was a real. Do you know what? People from Derby are actually all right. Even though I don't like the football team and I fucking hate them, the dirty sheep shagging bastards. They're actually quite. The people are actually quite calm. There's no aggression there. And because I was from Nottingham, and obviously Packy had him from fucking Bull, you know what I mean? Yeah, you've never fucking seen this before. I've started working in a nightclub, and oh mate, smashed it. Fucking smashed it. Loved it. One of my best jobs in my life. Absolutely one of my best jobs in my life. Working behind the bar was one of the best jobs in my life. I fucking loved it. Because I got drunk, I was partying, and there was pussy everywhere. That says it all really, doesn't it? That's all you fucking need. And then I moved back. I moved back in with my dad for a little bit after. So I stayed there for about 4 or 5 months, and then I moved back in with my dad for a little bit. And then one day, me and my dad had this fucking. I stole his car to go and see Naomi, right? It was late at night. I stole his car. I went and see Naomi because she was having a miscarriage, and it was mine. And she was having a miscarriage, and I had to take her to the hospital. So I picked her up and took her to the hospital in my dad's car. And when I got back, my dad was awake, and I was with Naomi, and he went fucking mad. He fucking battered me. And when I told him what I'd done, I think he took that into consideration. I think he realised. But he just had enough. He just had enough of my behaviour. So he put me on a plane to Northern Ireland when I was 18. Yep, I had to go back to Northern Ireland when I was 18 because he wasn't going to see me on the streets. So he said, your fucking mum can look after you for a bit and she can go through what you went through. So he shipped me back off to Northern Ireland. And that's what happened. I moved to Northern Ireland for about 3 or 4 months. So yeah, I went back to Northern Ireland, stayed there for 3 months. Didn't get a job, I just lived off my fucking mum. I didn't see her for 5 years. You know, it's a long fucking time not to see your mum. I didn't get a birthday card, didn't get a fucking... Well, I did, but not you know, it's not the same, mum. You might think, and don't think I'm trying to belittle you, because I'm not. Because up until you moved to Northern Ireland, mum, I had a nice clean house, we had food on the table every night, and you went to work, and you was a grafter. But there were certain things that you done that just don't make sense to me still. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. And the same with my dad, and the same with Jason. And I'm the same. There's stuff that I've done that you don't get. Right? And I'll just never understand it. It is what it is. It's over now. It's in the past. But it's the past that eats you. Eats some people anyway. It's fucking eating me. Hence why I'm doing these videos. So when I was before I left to go to Northern Ireland, before my dad put me on the plane to Northern Ireland, I applied for a council flat. And I applied for a council flat. So when I moved to Northern Ireland, obviously I put on the application form that I was moving out of town or whatever. I'll go back to another story in a minute. Yeah, I'm moving out of town. And when I was in Northern Ireland, they offered me a flat. I'll go to part 2 on that in a minute. While me and Cole was hanging around on the streets, there was a gang of us. Now, we wasn't a gang. We wasn't a postcode gang. We wasn't a fucking criminal gang. We wasn't any gang warfares. We was a unit. We was a community. It was a community of young people hanging around on the streets because there was nothing else for us to do. And it's as simple as that. Right? There wasn't no funding. There was no football pitches. There was no parks. There was nothing for us to do. The only leisure that we had was Bulldog Park Ponds. That was the only fucking leisure we had, right? And we used to hang around at this place called The Wall at the bottom of Merchant Street. Ask Darren Stocks how many bricks there is because he fucking counted them once, the crazy man. But we got an Asbo through the door. Me and Cole was known as the gang leaders. The gang fucking leaders. How can me and Cole be gang leaders? I couldn't even fucking walk a dog on a lead, never mind fucking 10, 11 people, and the people that we used to hang around with, they was all fucking older than me. All of them. So as if I'm going to be able to fucking... Nah, mate. So the fucking people who hung around on the corner reported us to the council, and I remember once we got surrounded. I mean, don't get me wrong, we wasn't sociable, but we wasn't antisocial in a way. Yeah, we used to drink beer. Yeah, we used to smoke weed. Yeah, they used to have, gangs of people. I get it. I get the threat. But we didn't hurt anybody. We didn't rob anyone. We didn't steal anything. We didn't keep quiet. I was going to say we kept quiet, but we didn't. But we wasn't bad people. We all had fucking jobs. The person, Angie, that's it. Gail's mum and dad, I can't remember his fucking name now. His dad had known Dave, which is Cole's dad, for 40 fucking years. And he's grassing his son up, he's grassing Cole up. So this Gail's dad is grassing Cole up, which is Dave's son, who he's known all his fucking life for being antisocial. Cole hasn't even got a voice to be antisocial. And we got these fucking ASBO letters through the door threatening to kick my dad out and me out if we don't stop. Now, my dad never got that letter. I was in the house when the fucking thing got posted. Right? My dad got that letter. Fucking game over for me, mate. And when I say game over, he would have fucking destroyed me. Now, I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad you didn't get that letter, Dad, but you know about it now. I'm only being truthful. I said I'm not going to lie in this video, and I'm not. There was a letter for an antisocial being ASBO, and me and Cole would have been the first people in Nottingham to get one. This is when the ASBO first started coming back round, and we never went back to that wall. Never went back to that wall. You've never seen us sat on that wall. In fact, they've knocked the fucking thing down now and put a metal fence across there, because after we left, somebody else came. So it just goes to fucking show that there's nothing to do in Bullwall. Well, there wasn't. I'm not sure now. I hadn't lived there for a while, but it was just mad. Anyway, part 2 of the flat. So when I was in Northern Ireland, I made a phone call to Nottingham City Council and says, I put an application in about 7 weeks ago about a flat, and I just wanted to know if there was anything available. She goes, yeah, can you come over Monday? Can you come and see me on Monday? And there's a flat in Crabtree Farm. I was like, fuck off. And she was like, honestly. And I was just like, for fuck's sake, I'm in Northern Ireland, love. I can't just fucking walk across the road and I'll be there. And she goes, what do you mean you're in Northern Ireland? I says, well, I put in my application form that I've got to move to a different fucking part of the world, well, a different part of the country, because I had nowhere else to live. And she goes, well, that's why you've got this flat. Well, I was offered one of 3, but I took the first one. I think the first, I was offered one of 3. But I went to the first one, so I came back across. So my mum paid for my flight back across, because obviously I had my own place at 18. And I took it. Number 3 Bromley Close. And my whole life changed. From that moment, my whole life changed. I became an adult because I had to look after myself. And I know that sounds weird, but when you live with your mum and dad, or when you live with your dad, things get done, don't they? Certain little things, cooking, cleaning, or whatever. I used to cook, but not like cook, you know what I mean? But responsibilities, straight away responsibilities. And I mean, when I got back, I had absolutely nothing. I had nothing. When I got those keys to that flat, me and Bug Eye went and had a look at it. It was like, fucking hell, I can't believe I've got a flat. So obviously I told my dad I had this flat, but I ain't got no, so I need to stay at the house. But by that time he got rid of all my stuff. And then like luck was kind of landed in my way, so to speak, because my grandma's South African, and she moved across here in the 70s. And for some strange reason, she wanted to move back to South Africa. Now, if you understand the South African life, a black woman can't go out of a white woman. A black woman can't go out of a white man, or vice versa. It's just a big no-no. And they lived on Huxley Close, and they gave me all their stuff. They gave me the settee, fucking black leather settee, really nice furniture, stuff for my bedroom. My grandma and granddad, they gave me the lot. They didn't want nothing for it. And that was another person I had to say bye to. I wouldn't say I was a young age, but I still had to say bye to my grandma, because I was never going to go to South Africa. How was I going to get to South Africa at the age of 18 in the lifestyle that I led? No fucking chance. No, not a chance. So I remember Sarah and Bug Eye took me up there to go and pick some stuff up, and then Sarah drove away. I cried again. Another woman leaving my life. She was my grandma. You know, we didn't have the, I wouldn't say we had the best relationship, but she was still my fucking grandma. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I moved into my flat.